You normally give really great information about techniques and tips and practices for spiritual evolution, and you don't get into so much about what's going on in the world. But as humans, and in the midst of this shift and this chaos, we have a lot of questions because we know we're not being told the truth about what's really going on by the media, by the government, et cetera. And from
Because
what
even they do not really know. You have to keep that in mind. They are aware of things you're not aware of, but even those things pale in comparison to what you would describe as what is actually going on. What is actually going on cannot really be described. It cannot even really be known fully by something that experiences itself as separate. So you have to keep in mind, you won't really be able to get that information externally, not from a news source, but also not from a spiritual teacher. That's the other thing to keep in mind. News sources, spiritual teachers, authority figures, guides, we can share information. And when we're sharing information, we are sharing geometries. When these geometries impact your consciousness, you're literally creating a type of world based off what we're saying. But any world you build in that way, based off of the projection of another, will always have certain degrees of limitation within it. Those limitations will be based upon what you can see and what the other person can see. But when you close your eyes, when you go within, when you totally dissolve yourself in that way, when you cease to even be a self, now you can actually see what's going on. Now you've become a vibrational match to the source of all things. That's where the knowledge of what is going on exists. That's where that level is. And once you begin to merge fully with that level, you start to intuitively feel the current of where things are going, how things are moving. And that current doesn't really have a narrative in the way that human story has narrative. This type of current is based more so on intuition and sensing shifts and changes within the timeline, different portals within the timeline, and how to take advantage of those opportunities, how to navigate them. You don't really need a narrative for that. But you, of course, can use one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense that no matter what information you say, it's all narratives, whether it comes from the mainstream media, the alternative media, channelers, spiritual guides, all that. It's all ultimately a story, a narrative.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And to get to that underlying level of what's really going on, you must actually go beyond narrative altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you must go beyond knowledge altogether. And that's through merging with that fundamental source level. And then that level, that source level, will use you to carry out its will, which is also your own higher will. So as you merge with that more, it's not so much about trying to figure out what's going on. Rather, it's about responding to what is going on in the way that you prefer so you can create the outcome you desire. And also using what you have been given, using the tools that you have been handed to mold and sculpt your life consciously. So rather, it's less about what's going on around you and worrying about trying to control that. And it becomes more so about creating whatever it is you're here to create, and not letting a sense of external narrative or authority source stop you from doing that. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?